Hey everyone, this episode is sponsored by Fight Energy. Fight is your all-in-one go-to health drink. Fight is not only just an energy booster, it is a mood booster as well. So with your daily dose of vitamins, nootropics, 0 calories, it is your all-in-one health drink. I drink Fight every day. My clients drink it. Someone you probably know drinks it. And you guys, what I'm offering for as we get into 2025, we're doing a discount for 25% off your first order if you type in LYB. Okay, so we'll know that you came from the podcast, and that way we can make sure you get some Fight Energy and some other little goodies thrown in there too. So if you get a chance, we would love to know which team you are. Are you team strawberry? Are you team blueberry? Hey everyone, welcome to the LYB podcast. On today's episode, we're doing a solo episode, but Logan's here because he's gonna be asking the questions and all the things and helping me stay on track. So because there's so much to talk about.
Always.
Always. We're in. We're starting 2025. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So it's been crazy.
So does that feel as weird to you as if it
yeah.
I'm almost numb to how weird it feels. Like 2020 was a weird number.
Right.
2025 is weird.
Yeah.
That's odd.
It is odd. And I don't know. I don't know how to feel about it really. I am excited. I'm excited about the year. I'm very thankful for the past year. There was a lot that happened, so I want to get into that too. But I do want to say that as we're going into 2025, we're just sitting here talking about this, about, sponsors and things, right? And, a lot of people always ask me, you'll say, oh, your gym sponsored, these things, and you have sponsors for, the challenges and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, but I would love to have sponsors for the podcast. Right. Because, even though all that stuff is great and everything, this is such a, like I've always said with podcasts, it truly helps more than people realize. And I don't think that they even know that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, 100%.
There were so many times when I was, in bodybuilding preps and people who do that know that it can be very lonely. But also, we're just coming off of holidays and stuff, and people probably were very lonely because not everybody has a family to go to or to do things with, right? And it's like, if you can just have someone that literally is talking while you're meal prepping or you're going on your walks, or, if you're joining the Get Your Movement Challenge and doing 12,000 steps a day, right, you want something to listen to that's not just, music or whatever it is, right? Anyway, and so I just feel like there's that community piece to this podcast. And so I do want to thank everyone who does listen to this, who subscribed on YouTube, who follows, all of that, because it does make a difference. And, I think that when it comes down to people who want to sponsor, it's not just about, a transaction of like, okay, pay, and then we tell, your ad and whatever. Right. If anyone knows me, they know that I'm very transparent, very open, but also I never refer people to people that I don't trust and I don't believe in, and so that's from anywhere from my massage therapist to my chiropractor to Stretch Labs, whoever, right? Because again, I believe in their missions. They help me, feel my best, so I help, get the word out about them, and I've done that very well. I would say for years. Like I've always hyped everyone up. So I've always, so if you're listening to this and you're someone that's like, maybe you're struggling with your business, you're trying to get it out there, or you're like, man, I don't know with how I look at things, like what are your ad dollars going to be for 2025? Like where should I allocate? Where should, all these things. Right. If you're an entrepreneur, you're even the franchisee that's listening to this, it is one of those things where I believe in this podcast. It has grown. We talked about that so much, 100%. And it's continuing to grow. And so I definitely would love to share other people's businesses, other people's missions on here too. So that's one of my goals.
Yeah,
for
no, it's a great point. And just to jump in there too, like one of the things that we talked about, and again, I have a notebook right in front of me that has some of these specific numbers, but percentage wise, the growth is up basically all the way across the board. And whenever you talk about like believing in the message, I think that that's the most important thing, because that's how you get an organic partnership. It's less of, like you said, just like writing a check and like, see you later. Hopefully that brings some ROI to me. Right. And it's actually more like, no, I actually believe in what Dani is doing. Yeah. And with such a passion project like a podcast, something that is so like near and dear, it's like everything needs fuel. You got to put gas in the tank for anything. And so this is a really special thing that you can be a part of. And yes, there is it's like we said before we went on air, there's analytics to show certainly. But at the end of the day, that's kind of like the cherry on top.
Yeah.
You know, the best thing is to have somebody that really wants to be
Right.
a part of it.
Well, and I kind of think about the podcast, like how when I first started, because the podcast, when I first started doing podcasting was in like 2021. And then with you was 2023.
Three, yes.
Okay, 2023.
Yeah.
So you guys, this is still so new.
Yeah.
And so for me, I go back to thinking about Dani Fitness in the beginning. Right. When,
That's
2017,
true. That's a
when
good point.
people
Yeah, that's a good
didn't, either people were there, like, we've had Danielle on here.
Yeah.
She was there from the beginning.
Yeah.
Barbell Video was there from the beginning.
Right.
National Fit Magazine was there from the beginning. Like,
Right.
they all, like, were in it from the beginning.
Yeah.
And they've seen how I've been able to help. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Build up them, grow them, bring people to their events, their things, whatever, over the course of this time, right? And so I feel like it's exactly the same, but it's just that there were also a lot of people who were like, they just kept putting me off.
Right.
They just kept putting me off.
Right.
Then video goes viral.
Right.
You know what I mean? They're like,
Right.
oh, how's everything going? You know what I mean? And
Well,
they're
and
like,
that-
or
yes,
it's like, like they
yes,
saw my business
100%.
has grown and whatever like that, and then they're like, oh, now can we?
100%.
And it's like, okay, I get it, right?
Yeah.
But it's like those are the people who believed in the beginning, and so that's how I
Correct.
kind of am looking at it from the podcast.
100%. That's 100%. We're on the same page about that. That's
Yeah.
like what we everything that we've been talking about. That's kind of what I was saying earlier about the growth. The growth at the end of the day, the percentage of the growth is more important than the raw number
Right.
because the percentage shows the direction.
Exactly.
And if you have 30, 40, 50, I mean, there's a couple of the percentage growth numbers that are over 100%.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah, doing that whole
so let's-
Spotify wrapped in the year or whatever thing. It was like
They do a great job with those.
The episode with Big Joe got the most.
Did great. Yeah.
Downloads, listens, everything, which was so cool.
And then on YouTube, James's
Okay.
did very, and this is just like
Okay.
one off the top of my head, but it's like we talked about before. Those two audiences are different audiences, which is really cool,
Right.
in a lot of ways. But like that's why I like the Spotify Wrapped because for one thing, like it shows that even still, because this, I've seen a couple, maybe 2 or 3 Spotify Wraps now.
Yeah.
We're still, and that's another good point to make for both the sponsorship and just to you, is
Yeah.
that we're still very much ahead of the curve. Like there's a reason why those percentages jump so much because people are not taking advantage of
Yeah.
Spotify video. They're
Right.
not taking advantage of podcasting on Spotify. Not to the, some people are, but not to the extent.
Right.
That's why you're seeing 86% growth of streams.
Yeah.
Over 100% growth,
Yeah.
like
and you guys like, and when we're listening, we're talking about like 2025, right? Like for me, like really growth is that word because
that's what me and Margaret were just talking about
really?
words for 2025, and that was the number one thing that I had that I brought up was growth.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is that like
Building on what you've already.
Well, so here's the thing though. It's yes, it's building, but for me, but if you're an entrepreneur listening, you can relate to this, I feel like very much so, of when things are going, you kind of are scrappy about stuff. Like you are like, okay, let me get this sale out. Let me do this. Let me get this.
Right.
Like, let me take the call at 7:00 at night, even though I'm already asleep, but like, let me take the consult or whatever. Right. And you're rushing and you're going and you don't have time to like essentially trim the fat. You know what I mean? You don't have time to like actually be, okay, how can I capitalize on what we already have versus continually adding?
Right.
And that gets me into the whole conversation of with clients and things of, so many times, or people who are wanting to train or whatever, they're looking at, okay, I need to add this. I need to do this. I need to have this extra medicine. I need to have this extra, Botox or whatever, all these things, versus being like, okay, actually, I could do a skincare routine on my own. Or actually, I could get, I could focus on, okay, yes, I have a trainer and I work out with her 3 times a week, but on the other days, I could go take a walk, right? And capitalizing on what you're already in versus adding so much to it so that overloads you, right?
Like efficiency.
And yeah, exactly. And so same thing with this. It's like, okay, for me, it's like making the goals of, I would love to have, and I love talking about it out loud because it's manifesting, but like my fight, getting more subscribers for the auto shipping. Okay. Because then it's just easier on everybody.
Yeah.
Then they're not calling me freaking out or emailing me and being
Right.
like, hey, I'm out. I have 2 scoops left.
Right.
When can it get here? And I'm like,
Right.
UPS. Like, I mean, you know what I mean? They may take their sweet time. They may get to the next day. It just depends. But like, again, not getting to that point, right? So it's being more efficient because you already know you're going to reorder it.
Right.
Like, let's be real. You
Right.
want to have
Right.
for the next month.
Right.
So it's like stuff like that. But even, and then the same thing too with like, with, training and trying to give my girls the best things that I can, do for them.
Yeah.
And I don't know. And so it's just a lot of
No, it makes sense.
reflection.
It makes sense. Like you're pulling more out of what you already have. Like, no, it makes
Yeah.
total sense. It makes,
Yeah.
and again, I mean, that's what we're trying to do. It's like, okay, what we can make segments.
Right.
Like that's something that's already there that
Right.
we can pull that from a different place and do something different with that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And even like asking my girls, like that's what I was going to get to, is asking my girls to leave a 5-star review.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like I realized, I was like, some people I've trained
big
for
deal.
years and have never left a review.
Yeah.
And
Same
I'm
thing
like,
with the podcast, leaving reviews on podcasts.
yes.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think that, again, everyone moves so quickly. And like some of my girls were like, that's going to be your Christmas gift. I'm like, that's a great Christmas gift.
Yeah, for real.
Please leave a review. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
I've only been
100%.
asking you 27 times
100%.
for the past 7, years or whatever. Like, so, and again, I know that people think that their voice doesn't matter, or that they're liking something, or I put something on my Instagram because I saw that Rush had put it up there, but it was like how to support a small business.
Yeah.
It was literally, there was no money attached to it.
Right. It was like share.
And this is the other thing too that's interesting is, and you can tell me if you want to do from your perspective, but like, I think that people who look at this brand and this business, it's a bad thing, but it's also a good thing that their perception may not be reality. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I wonder, like, if that's like.
Do you mean like the like?
Okay, for example, I think I've said this before on the podcast. I'm sitting there one day and another trainer, very well versed, very well whatever, he was like, Dani, like, you must have like 200 clients. Okay. You know what I mean? Like, no, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, that's not a thing. I would love to have online.
So why do you think why do you think
programs.
they said that to you? Why do you think they said that?
Well, I think it's because when they
Like,
see
what
me
was the
always
perception
hustling,
there?
they're always seeing me grind. They're seeing me because I share a lot of what, there'll be a day where I'll put up all of my clients that I had that day, their photos or a clip of them, or the ones that'll let me, film them and everything. And that's the other thing too, is there's ones I don't do that, so obviously. But it's just like, that's the whole thing, is that they see that grind, they see that hustle, but I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, that's not reality.
Well, I think like one thing that comes to mind is that like you and I've always talked for years about like how much you do,
Yeah.
So I think that like I'm very much, like I said, we're focused on some of the same things for some of the same reasons, because I can be that way too. Like, you think about all that stuff that perhaps the perception was almost like a hectic, like you were saying, running around and hustling. It's like you must have, like, for the amount that you run around and like all this stuff.
Right.
It's like you actually have like so much energy and so much like things that you do, that I could see like the efficiency thing like being something that if you focus on it, it's kind of like this, you have like this huge blast of energy, and it's more just like tightening it into what you have now. But and as far as the perception thing in general, I think that people, for whatever reason, are weird. People are weird about supporting people they know. I don't know what it is. I've never been able to figure it out. It seems like, and you hear that a lot of times where, they say the people closest to you won't be the ones that will buy your stuff, or like the thing about paying full price, like people that are really full friends won't ask for a discount. And I don't know where that comes from.
Well, and I guess for me, it's more like, I mean, I do feel very supported and things like that. Like, don't get me wrong, but it's more about like,
like, do you think that he said that? And like, do you think the perception is when you ask that, do you think that it's that maybe like it's not needed?
Well, what I'm saying is that this is like, for another example. Someone messaged me the other day and they were like, "Hey, can you have a talk with me about how to grow my online whatever, and also like schedule a meeting with me to do that." First off, because this person's someone I've never met, just social media, whatever. But anyway, but two, it was about the whole thing of like, they see this, I guess they see that there's like a ton with like online program or whatever. But if they actually knew how many online clients that I had, they wouldn't be asking me probably. So that's where it's like, but I mean, maybe they would.
Well, for one thing, maybe you don't realize how well you are doing. Right? Because sometimes you do get caught up, and not just you, like you were saying before, you're running around and you're doing so much that it takes like a moment of real reflection to be like, damn, I actually do more. And like some, it's kind of like whenever like you interview somebody that you already know, and we've talked about it, it's like, well, you assume, like, without even realizing it, you got to start talking about stuff. And sometimes I'll be like, people don't even know what you're talking about because you guys are just friends. So you're just going. So like sometimes we can, you know, this is like a weird example, but I was thinking about this with like sports gambling, right? People don't really know how to even like read the numbers.
Right.
If I'm showing this to like a friend who's never done it before,
Yeah.
I'll just start talking. They're like, I have no clue what you're
Right.
even remotely even talking about. So my point in saying that is that that's a moment where I'm like, damn, I actually know a lot more about this than I thought that I did. So like, I think that sometimes that's a good thing for you to remember, that you do a lot more, and you have accomplished
for sure,
and have
yeah.
So
and I
it can be hard to remember that whenever you're just grinding all the time.
Right. And I do get that. I just think that like I said,
But yeah, it's a weird thing though.
It's again, there's still some, I guess my whole point of saying this is that there's still so much growth that needs to be had to be, and again, this isn't me being like I said, I don't want 500 clients.
Yeah, right.
That's not the thing. I don't want 200 clients. Like, you know what I mean? I'd rather have a small group of clients who pay me what I'm worth and that show up every week. They show up, you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
And have that and me actually work less, like hours of the day. Cause that's another thing too, is like, I've been listening to the 4 Hour Work Week, Tim Ferriss. And mind you, I said listening, not reading it. Cause again, you have to find what works best for you.
Yeah.
And I love audiobooks and podcasts and things like that. But anyway, and so I've been listening to that, and he's so right on so many levels. Like, you know, truly, you know, it's like he'll talk about like meetings and about like how people go and do these meetings with people. And he's like, the meeting, like he's like talking about boundaries. Like I will say, this is him saying, he's like, I will say that in the meeting, if they need for a meeting, be like, actually, you can email me what you would like to talk about. And if I think that there needs to be a meeting past that, then we'll schedule a time, and it will be a 15-minute meeting. I mean, because he doesn't waste time with an hour long or just because it's Monday and we have to have a meeting to talk about whatever. And I'm the same way.
Yeah.
I'll call up Anna, my assistant, and I'll literally be like, hey, let's do our meeting that we do weekly, because we have a weekly standing meeting. And I'll be like, I don't know how long it's going to be, right? But I literally try to keep it as short as possible, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, to just be like, check, like just like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And anyway, because basically he's saying that you don't have to work all these hours each day to become the new like rich, is what he calls it.
Right.
And he's right.
Yeah.
And content creators, people like that have proved that too, you know? And again, it's different for everybody and what their profession's in, but you can still take parts that he says in the book and implement them to your everyday life.
Well, and that kind of strategy I think would work great for you because of how you are too.
Right.
Like, it makes sense to me that you're resonating with.
Well, and that's why I'm saying is like at the end of these meetings, or this guy, like random people asking for my time, and it's like, actually, you know what I'm saying? Like, and
Yeah,
again,
you just got finished with that, and then somebody messaged you.
And here's the thing too, is a lot of people will message me, because I do like mentorships, and help with people and helping grow their brands and stuff. And I'm like, if you actually want to work with me, then like, call me, like actually like email or email me, be professional about it. Don't just DM me, you know what I mean? And treat me with that respect that you think that you want to learn from me. Right.
Right. No,
And you can't even say you don't know my email. It's everywhere. But then also, even if you DM me, because the thing is I'm thinking 4 people off the top of my head right now, don't remember their names, only can vividly see their Instagram handle, that desperately needed help or needed support to build up their business and needed my help or whatever. And honestly, I don't know how to get back in touch with them.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They never followed up.
Yeah.
But they desperately wanted guidance.
Yeah.
I guess not that bad.
Yeah.
With me, if I've ever tried to get in touch with you, I will get in touch with you.
Yeah.
I have literally, I will find the email, I will find the message, I will talk to you to get there. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and it's just, it blows my mind.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's like not wasting time. And even with like too, in terms of clients, like people reaching out for consults, like I love when people, do you know how excited, I just want to talk about this. Do you know how excited I get when I get we have a system now where people can click the intake form, and it's a Google form, and I get a notification that someone filled it out. I get so excited, and I am like, okay, let's go. And I'm like, well, reading about their stuff, and I'm like, okay, they're this age, they're this healthy, they're this, whatever. And I'm like, okay, and they want to work with me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, okay. And then I'll email them back, nothing. And I'm like, okay. So then I'll text. Nothing. And they'll be, and again, sometimes it's not always like that, right? But man, it is like, because it's a difference when nobody's reaching out to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's different. And like, and then.
Well, it's like, why even do the.
Right. And so to me, that means you're taking it seriously. So
Right.
I'm like, let's go.
Yeah.
I'm ready. So I have to like kind of hold back and I'm like, okay, hold on. And let me look at it. Let me talk to them, whatever. And then usually it'll come down to, I didn't know the console cost. And I'm in my mindset, I'm like, it's my time.
Yeah.
So like, and I get it because someone's like, oh, well, Dani, you should do this way. I've done it before and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And then I'm just wasting time. And it's one of those things where it's like, again, because if you're not willing to pay for that console, when it comes to training, because training's its own beast, but that console right there,
right.
and for like, yeah, anyway. So
you're right. No, you're 100% right.
But
on
you
that.
see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. You don't have any skin in the game, A, and B, you're not going to take it seriously enough to even pay for the console.
But if you think that that's too much money for the
Right.
console, then you're not going to pay
definitely
my
not gonna-
prices.
right,
So it
right,
kind of weeds
right.
people out.
100%.
But it's like, again, it's
Well, it's frustrating.
It is, yeah, but it really is like I try not to get down about it.
Yeah.
Because and it's not for the fact of like, oh, I'm missing out on money.
Yeah.
It's the fact that like, man, a system that I've taken so long to get together,
Yeah.
and like they do it, and then I get it, and I'm like, yes, and then they're like, no. And so that is something that is always like kind of disheartening, like I
So
said.
how do you, let me ask you about this, because
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about. And it's something that I found with people in multiple industries, having worked in a lot of different ones through videography. And
Yeah.
a lot of people that are like really passionate about what they do, including myself
Yeah.
and including you, it's really a tough balance to find when it comes from like, because you actually care, you actually want them to succeed. You
Yeah.
actually want that more than you want the money.
Right.
Right. So like when something like that happens, like I totally get how that's disheartening. And whenever you ask like other, I guess like business owners and stuff, kind of like, well, it just kind of, and I'm like, all right, cool. Is that it?
Yeah.
Like you just got to kind of just go on to the next one. And
Oh, yeah.
And it's like you do, but like, so I guess that's my point is like whenever you really, really care about what you're doing, like people that, I feel like people that are like, oh, it's just a numbers game. You talk to 100 people, you figure out if 50 of them are going to have a meeting with you. Then
Right.
out of that 50, 25 will have a second meeting. And then out of that 10 and they're just very like calculated about it. I feel like a lot of times those are people that are not working in industries that they're like super passionate about. They're super
Right.
passionate about the sale and making
Yeah.
the money or whatever the case. And so if you're coming from that motivation, then yeah, it's a lot easier to just run through those numbers and not
Yeah.
care
Right.
about the people that you're talking to.
Yeah.
But like whenever you see an intake form and you're like building the story of this person in your mind and then
Yeah.
they never reach back out.
Yeah.
Like you actually care about that.
Right.
So like how do you balance, again, like trying to I don't know. It's something that is difficult. And again, personal training, I did it for a very small amount of time. And
Yeah.
I'll tell you one of the things that was a bitter taste in my mouth was
Yeah.
like, I'm trying to help you.
Right.
Like I'm trying to get you
So-
healthy, so I totally,
Yeah.
I would love them to hear like how you balance that.
So it's very hard not to take it personally, right?
Yeah.
But again, take emotion out of it because that's not what this is. And I have to reframe it of looking at like one, they haven't decided to put themselves first. So I can't help them.
Right.
They haven't decided to start fighting for what they want, right? Or let's say that a client, because eventually, clients do progress on or they move or whatever, right? And I've always, the thing is about that, I will say is it's all about having respect in how you do it. And those are the ones that I'm still friends with. Because a lot of people sometimes will be like, oh, you're still friends with like people that you trained or they don't train with you anymore, whatever. And I'm like, yeah, the ones that were awesome.
Right.
Like Ashley, I'm invited to like her wedding coming up
Yeah,
next year. Like, and I mean like Erin just sent me a Christmas card with all her updates and whatever. And like, I haven't trained Erin in like 4 years. She moved away. But anyway, but it was because they literally always were like in the corner rooting for this mission and rooting for this brand and told people about it and like shared it with them. They drink fight, they bought the book, they still, support, but in a different way. And like, that's where, I have so much respect for them because it wasn't just a transaction to them.
Right.
So therefore, right. And so, so it's like, I lean into like the good people, like that.
So you try to identify maybe like the people, like is this person treats it more of like a transaction. So you kind of put them in a kind of like
It's compartmentalizing.
Yeah,
It is because you can't look at everyone the same.
Yeah.
Because again, some people I am literally just there as their trainer and they are
Right.
like, give me the workout. Like
Makes
I
sense.
want whatever. And I get that. But most of the time if they go through long enough and they go through the process of the LYB method, then they end up starting to love themselves, or they
Right.
end up, being like their best. And I'll tell you this. So I'll give an example. A girl, well, she's come on the podcast, so I can say it, but Nikki, she was a client for like, I don't know, 2 years, I guess. And she sent me a message. It was so great last night. And she basically said, and this is someone who, I mean, you could stereotype her. You could say came from money, younger, like, what's the word? Not like, but very like, not trendy. That's not the right word, but like very in that genre of like not YouTube,
Like you wouldn't expect
TikTok. And they're like, I'm just going to get healthy to have a cute booty, or you know what I'm saying? Like, or like, I just try to do this, whatever. Like
you wouldn't expect her to struggle with the things that she struggles with.
Yeah. So it's like, again,
because she talked a lot about that on that episode.
And she said to me, and this is again, someone who hasn't trained with me. Okay. And for 6 months. And she goes, thankful for you. I know, and this is random. We weren't talking, nothing. She said, thankful for you. I know it's not about the number, but the number shows consistently showing up for myself and maintaining 6 months post NED. Appreciate what you've done for my lifestyle and self-respect. She sent a picture of her like scale or whatever, like she used to send me before with check-ins. And she said, and the scale picture is 149.4. And she said 186 when I started in July of 2022 with you. You've taught me so I mean, what is that math? 36 pounds. Yeah.
Something like that.
But again, I don't care about the weight.
Right.
Her body fat is completely changed. Her whole body.
The weight is only a result of.
Yeah. And then she said, you've taught me so many tools to be successful long term.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Literally right there. Like right there. Again, she believes she'll get up and drink her fight. Still, like she still gets fight for me. She's, she came to my book signing. You know what I mean? Like still supports.
100%. Yeah.
But is not a paying client.
And to me,
that's fine.
evidence.
I have no ill will against her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she'll still send me videos of her working out. And
Yeah,
I'm like,
right.
let's go, pop
Right.
off. Like,
Right.
that's great. Like, or tag me on social media. Like, I love that. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's the ones that expected, I guess, me to like, I don't know, be their best friend afterward. Or there was like, I don't know. Or I don't know.
Like they took it personally.
Like,
in some degree.
yeah. Or like, and
yeah.
again, because it's, I don't know. It's just like I said, it's a very interesting dynamic, and any trainer listening understands exactly what I'm going for or what I'm saying. But and the other thing too is it's like, with my clients, like in terms of if they are, I guess we were getting to the point of like if they were going to leave or whatever, right? It's fine. Like this is a business,
Right.
okay? You don't feel like it's going to hurt my feelings or whatever. But it's more of like it's how you do it.
Kind of like a right way and wrong way to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Same thing with a
for sure.
breakup. If a dude texts you and is like, I'm out.
Or like,
You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, you're gonna be a little bit mad, right?
Yeah.
But but if somebody's like, hey, I just want to let you know after, and I say this in my contract too, like let me 30 days in advance,
yeah.
so I can plan. Because think about it, you guys, like if literally, I mean, God forbid, but like if 50% of my people did that, and we're all just like, hey, I'm out next week,
yeah.
I'd be like,
Yeah.
you see what I'm saying?
Right,
A
yeah.
lot of things will change.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is where.
So people
it's very
like
hard.
does like a Nikki clear out like the need to take the other people personal, like
Oh,
the ones that
100%.
like when
Like
you get
the-
the intake forms that don't come through, it's
Yes.
like whatever because I got a Nikki.
Well, but that's what I'm saying. Literally, it happened the same day.
Yeah.
A lady was like, hey, I would love to have a consult with you, but I just didn't realize that it cost money. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, right.
And then end of conversation.
Right.
And then literally I got a message from Nikki an hour later. You see what I'm saying? And so like that's how God
100%.
protects me, because
I think so,
being
too.
a Cancer, like I said, like I can be sensitive in the sense of like I care so much,
Yeah.
and like I don't ever like, and I've been where they're at. Hey everyone, thank you so much for listening to the LYB podcast. If you haven't yet, please go check out the How to Love Your Body Throughout book on Amazon. This is my very first book. I am so proud of it. It is a short read. You can also get it on Kindle. So it's not a huge commitment, but it is something of a self-help book. So if you're someone who's looking for support, you're looking for tools, you're looking for just a way to feel better during this holiday season and into the new year, I definitely recommend it. I put my heart and soul into this, and this is just the start. So if you haven't yet, go on Amazon and get your first copy. No, I was just going to say, and also it's like stuff like that, like getting the email from Noble, like if we're looking at like what all has happened this past year, right? Like getting that, or it was actually a DM that turned into the whole thing or whatever, but that was such a beautiful surprise. And I couldn't have planned that. I couldn't have, all I could have done was manifest for that. Like, you know, and so it's one of those things where like those things are the things that keep me going. When it does feel like, oh, like this person changed this or this person did this, you know, but it's just, again, like having consideration and like having and believing, you know, like I said, believing in themselves and making sure that like the health and the fitness are the priority, you know?
Well, I mean, I think those things like we've talked about this before about people who talk about like that they want or if they can like make a real impact like that in one person's life, that like that's their goal.
Right.
And like there are realities there. And that's kind of what I'm talking about of like you really care. That's my point is like it's not that you obviously run your own business, but like you're in the category of person that like really just wants to like you want to help, like you genuinely want to help, and like there are realities of business unfortunately that are there,
and that's another thing
but
too,
that can be a tough thing to overcome, I guess is my point. I think that's why it can be hard not to take things personally, and
just like turn the negative into a positive.
Your name is on the business, like so like I feel that way. My name's not even on the business, but like I'll feel that way like whenever you go to a meeting or something, and if a proposal gets rejected or whatever, it feels like they're rejecting you, like it's your face, you sat down and gave the pitch, you know, so like I just know that can be a really difficult thing in general.
But also the thing is that it's not about me though. That's what I'm trying to get to. It's like, it's not about me feeling sad about myself. It's about me feeling sad for them.
Right.
And that's what's unfortunate because they're trying to like be like, oh, like, you know what? They're trying to hurt my feelings. And I'm like, you're only hurting yourself.
Yeah. No,
because,
100%.
You know what I'm saying? And that's where it's like, again, that's where I'm just like, the rationale with things, you can rationale anything. You could sit here and have some ice cream and be like, oh, but it's healthy. You know what I mean? You could figure out some way to make it. You could find out some way to make it, right? So it's the same thing when people are like, I can't come in and I can't, or whatever. It's like, like, okay, like, you know what I mean? But again,
that's what I'm saying. That's a healthy way to look at it, because like, that's something that when you really care about it can be very difficult to not be like.
But that's taken me years. So if you're someone that's just starting in your business or starting with training or what it might be, like, or with any type of business, it's something you have to continually work on.
I feel like I don't reach out to people enough because I'm low key like I hate the rejection.
Oh, see, that's the other thing too, is I have no problem someone rejecting me because I literally,
and I used to not care. I don't know why I care now.
I know that I am intense and I get it, but it's also like I see, and I feel like God has put this on me, like I have discernment and I can see what people need really, you know what I mean? And what they're so desperately wanting, but they just won't either ask for it themselves or whatever. So I always try to present it to them because you don't know till you know. Right. You know what I mean? And so anyway, so I will always like reach out and DM people about my challenges, like the Gear Movement and Challenge. Like, again, that even with that challenge, I mean, you can win $500. You can win, apparel. You can win all these different things, right? Massages, awesome prizes, right? So there's something to look forward to. A community of people, you have support. You have me as a coach for 12 weeks, essentially, that you can use and you can talk to and ask me questions and whatever you need, so it's like all of that. And then I think it came down to like, it's like $3 a day when you look at it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's like, again, it's just like I said, it's people's priorities and what they want to do. And so I totally get it. And I've waited around, for people for years and sometimes, and then they like come through, they come back and they're like, I need this or come back around. Like I should never have stopped training. And I'm like, yeah. So I'm glad you're here though. You know what I mean?
Do you find like in a situation like that, that it's like it's like the people that are causing you trouble tend to continue to cause you trouble. The people that like you, like that kind of, it just kind of works. Like they want what you have, you give them what they need. And it like, I guess my point is like sometimes whenever I guess is the question, but do you find that like if you're trying to force it with somebody, whether it be in that kind of relationship or a professional relationship, usually it doesn't.
Yeah. No, I mean, like that's the thing is
which is another point to not taking it too personally. It's like, if it's not working out, you don't have to try to force it. Well, and that's the thing too, is
I used to like chase people for sure. And then I got to the point where I'm just like more transparent. And I'm like, hey, are you going to do this or not?
Is this your cup of tea?
Because again, it's about wasting time, right?
Yeah.
And so, but also it's like it's a fine line because I want to have that personal touch. I want to reach out to people and everything like that. But also, like I said, it's, I don't know.
It's just
I
a very
think
interesting balance. That's why I
yeah,
like
and
diving into it because
and
it is personal.
But here's the thing too: is
but it's not.
I deal with 99% is women, right? So the women that I deal with, like I think that a lot of times that I talk to, even like on social media or like followers or whatever, like once they have their mind made up, like good or bad, it's done. You know what I mean? And a lot of times as women, like we get in our own way. And I know what that is like, and I can see them doing it.
Yeah.
And that's where it gets so hard. Right.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying like this, like the whole mission was started to help people move their body, help them find some love for their body, and help them set goals, which is fighting for what you want. Literally. So like, and that's what I am here to do.
Yeah.
Like and so that's where, that is just like, I think when people start like this journey, they think that they're getting, like even just like in the health and fitness world, whatever, like that they're starting with, movement and then like their whole life is going to change. There's so many other parts of it that you have to do and that I've had to learn as well, that you have to make sure your sleep is on point. You got to make sure that you have, for mentally, you have a therapist. Like you got to make sure that like there's so many parts, right? So it can seem overwhelming. So I'm like, let me be that start for you. Let me be that guide for you that's going to get you to where you're going to even be able to go do those things. You know what I mean? But anyway, but all that to say, reflecting back on this year, like I said, I'm fortunate. Like I get to train my clients at the LYB. I have the online programming, virtual training that I do. So I offer so many different things. The Noble thing was super cool. That was a huge highlight, getting paid to work out and to post, I love that. And that was so much fun.
Oh, that's what I was going to say 1 second earlier about Nikki. And I went on the whole thing about one person, and all that stuff. But to me, like that's evidence, right? It's like if you could do that with her, you can do it with somebody else. If you can do it with somebody else, you can do it with somebody else.
Yeah.
The Noble thing, like if that happened once, it can happen again.
Yeah.
And so it's just, it's really important, I think, to have moments of reflection, being like, oh, that happened and that happened.
Well,
if I can do that, then I could definitely do like it all builds on itself. And so these things are not to be moved past super quickly because it's like, no, that was like a goal for a long time to get paid to work out. And and not only did I do it, but now that I've done it, I know that I can do it again.
Right. And I know that I should ask for more money. Yeah. And that was a thing on me. That was a thing on me that I learned that I was like, man. But
what did you say? You wish
that I should have asked for more money.
Well, that's
that was
another
me,
interesting
though.
thing about business. Sometimes I've learned you don't get what you don't ask for. Sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And that's another reason when we go back to saying about like that I have no what's the word?
Qualms.
No, yeah. Like I'll ask whatever,
Yeah.
and if someone's like, no, I can't. It's like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Like answer me though.
Yeah.
I don't like when they leave me like on red or whatever. So it's like answer me. But again, it's like, okay, next time it comes around, I'm still probably going to ask you again.
Yeah.
Because I really think that it could benefit them. You know what I mean?
I gotta be better about being like that because I used to be like that. Like, look, here's the prize.
Well,
okay, cool.
But but that's
really
the thing
bad.
is
let it affect me.
With the Noble thing, how I rationalized that was, I was like, I could go for broke and ask for this amount of money, right? And I was like, but here's the thing. I have always wanted to do this. So it kind of put it up on a pedestal, which I probably shouldn't have let it do that. But for me, it was something I waited for so long.
Yeah, for that
like,
one.
for example, if Good Morning America, if they call me up or they call my, like, whatever up and they say, hey, we want to have you on, right?
Yeah.
Like, for me, let's say that I was like, oh, like, well, they should be covering my flight. And maybe they were like, hey, we can't cover your flight, can't cover your hotel, but like, we want you on the segment. I'm going to make it a point. I'll buy the plane ticket or I'll get somebody's private plane or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, you can come on, like, whatever. But you see what I mean? Like because I've always wanted to do that. And I say Good Morning America because, guys, it could be the Kelly Clarkson show. It could be like a big, just a big network show that's seen by millions. Like, that's what I mean by that. So it's not like I got some, like, whatever with them. But anyway, so all that to say, it's like because I've always wanted to do that, right? But then after the first one, that's gonna be like next time, like, nah, like you got to pay for the hotel, the flight, like all the things, because this is like a regular thing, right? So that's how I felt with the Noble deal. But I still asked for more than I think people would have thought I would have asked for. So, which is I think is good and kind of a representation
Try
of like
to push it a little bit
of the fitness, because I think as fitness instructors, like and trainers, we've always been undermined, always used for all these things and like not paid the appropriate amount. You know what I mean? So I definitely felt successful for that. So, and it was
I
great.
thought about things like that before. I don't know. I was randomly thinking about like the Super Bowl show the other day, and it's like, they make so much money. I'm thinking like, how many people out there would just do it for free?
Yeah.
Like so many.
Right.
So many.
Yeah.
Like with any of those kind of things. Like, and I've thought about that too. Like if, like with the GMA thing, if they asked you, it's like nothing. Don't worry about it. They're like,
Right.
okay, well, we had a check ready for you, but
No. See,
right.
and that's the thing too, is I would hopefully like tread carefully. And like I said, I have people now who can help me with those
See, that's
things.
where like that balance I was talking about, because
Right.
you really want to do it. You really want to
Yes.
get your message out there, but you also gotta.
Yeah.
We also have to learn as business owners. Yeah, but you also are worth a certain amount. And
Right.
Whether
So-
it's GMA or anybody else, you got to get that.
Exactly. So again, it's all like, it can all be maneuvered and talked about and things like that.
What are some other highlights for you? I was going to ask you if anybody
yeah.
sticks out, like and don't anybody get upset if she doesn't mention you, but if anybody sticks out off the top of your head from the podcast in particular, any interviews? I mean,
So
done weekly for the last few months. I don't remember exactly when we started that, but we've done a lot of great ones.
yeah. I mean, I really loved, taking it back. Like I loved getting to interview my best friend. I love having Jordan on. China as well, my other best friend. Like loved having her on. That was a big weekend. And I genuinely loved having, I would say, I've loved having everybody on, but any of my clients, that's been great too, for them to be open and share about their stories.
Kind of learn more about them.
Yeah. And things that like we've talked about, but in passing, didn't
Right,
click or
right.
didn't, because it's a lot to keep up with,
Yeah.
And you still miss so much. Cause again, guys, like most time when
One
people come in a
person.
session, they're telling me about their life
Yeah.
and that day, right?
Yeah.
They're not talking about like back before,
Right.
whatever. And obviously, so you try to keep up as much as possible and everything like that. But, yeah, I really enjoyed Amanda's episode. That was great. I would say that I loved, Big Joe. He's so, so
He's
special
one of
to
my
me.
favorites,
and
yes.
that's another thing to go into with the highlight of this year is coming out with my book, How
Yeah,
to Love
that's
Your
a
Body
big one.
Throughout, because he literally told me this since 2021 or two, maybe, I guess, is what and he told me about, like, just do it. Anybody can do it. You know what I mean? Start writing. And I was like, yeah. But then like, I kind of kept putting it off because, but I also put it off because bodybuilding was the focus, clients were the focus. Like I could only focus on so much. Right. And I didn't have time to form a sentence, let alone write down my thoughts on paper, is how I looked at it. And now I'm able to have some time to start, to write and things like that. And was able to get that book done. Because somebody was like, well, how long did it take you? And I was like, really collectively only like 2 days, but it was the whole getting an editor to actually edit through it, getting it formatted in the correct way, and having my assistant do that. And then like getting the cover photo, choosing, you know what I mean? So there's all those little parts of it too, you know what I'm saying? To actually build it. But in terms of the content, I got the content.
Right.
I can talk all day. You know what I
Right.
mean? I can write all day. So for me, it's like, again, doing that, more and everything for 2025.
It's cool to think about, like if you want a really cool Danny D Easter egg, that episode was like, that conversation happened on that episode. Like,
What do you mean?
where y'all were talking about the books and talking about how he was going to go speak.
Yeah.
And then the guy told him, like, how do you,
Yeah.
like literally he's like, how did he get this gig? And he's like, he has a book. Like,
Yeah.
you were like, really? That was all that it was? Like, you can literally see
Yes.
the book before the book came out. You can see the idea spark and
Yeah.
literally the origins of that and why you wanted to do that and him explaining all of that. And then not long after that, you see on a different episode, it's like, oh, look, there's a book now.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly. So, but again, it just takes one person telling you
Yeah.
that you can do it. So,
Well, and it
that
takes
was-
you deciding.
well,
You
yes,
just decided.
true.
You were like, look, I'm doing it.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
then once you did that, it was like overnight. I came back the next week or something, and it's like, you got a book out.
Right.
So,
yeah.
which is incredible.
Thank you. So I'm very proud of it, and everyone can get it on Amazon if you haven't already, in Kindle form too. So, but it does have activities in there to help you love your body more, and to kind of identify why you don't love your body. So it's very special to me, and that way that's why I love when people get the hardback copy, because they can actually write in it and use it as another tool. But besides that, also I was able to, with the money from the Noble campaign, I was able to trademark So they're in application. So it's still, we'll knock on wood, but it takes about a year, maybe a little bit less of time. I'm sure my attorney, my trademark attorney will get it done sooner. But anyway, but I'm hoping by the time I turn 32 that LYB will be trademarked and then Fight will be trademarked.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So, and Dani Fitness is trademarked, the words and the logo, and has been for years now. So that was something, not when I first came out, I didn't have it trademarked, but after a couple years, like saved up and did that.
Fight, you could probably flip the trademark for Fight for a lot of money.
Yeah, I don't, and that's the thing too, is they still got to go through all the whole deal and whatever. And,
But that'd be like that would be a hell of a trademark to own.
Yeah. So
a hell of a trademark. You imagine the amount of people that would want to.
Well, and I mean, and I think that when we decided it, I'm pretty sure, because I get so confused with the different classifications, because trademarks, there's so many things people don't realize. They think that they think that you like own that word and then like switch over. It's not like that. Like, I'm pretty sure that mine is the Fight is fight for what you want, and then it's trademarked as, I want to say it's the logo that's trademarked, not the actual word.
Right, gotcha.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's different that way, but he may have done it both ways. So honestly, I let him. That's why I hired the trademark attorney to do it, not myself, because I wanted the best.
Delegate.
Because here's the thing too, is that when you do a trademark, people don't understand this either. Like, you apply for the trademark, and usually, I mean, it's very expensive, and you do that, and it can get rejected, and then you still lose that money.
Yeah.
So he and his team help decipher what is the likelihood, right, of the words.
Right.
And therefore, that's why now we're calling this the LYB podcast, not the Love Your Body podcast.
A little behind the scenes for you.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's like, the whole deal with that. That was something I've been putting off for a while. But I wanted to do it as soon as like Fight came out, and whatever. But like I said, it's, a whole deal. So anyway, so after all that, but.
So this is kind of random, but if somebody came along and was like, just looked at your offerings as a whole.
Yeah.
And just wanted to inject 6-7 figures, would that be something that you would like?
What do you mean?
So like, basically, like, what if somebody came along and was like, Dani D Fitness as a brand, including the book, including Fight, including your personal training, including everything. And they put like an evaluation on it, and they become like a partner. Is that something that you're? And I'm literally just curious, because I'm just thinking about like the whole offering of what you have as a whole. Yeah. And it seems like that could be something that presents itself at one point or another. Maybe it already has. I don't know. But where somebody says that they want to basically buy into what you have going on as a whole in a big way. Some people look at that and they go, I wouldn't want another person either making decisions or having input or whatever, or maybe somebody would say, maybe if it was like a silent partner, or maybe somebody would say, like I said, wouldn't want anything to do with it. But some people, and I guess this is why I'm asking the question, some people like that is the goal, like to get it big enough to where somebody comes in and buys it out, or
I see what you're saying,
like buys a big percentage.
So
of it.
let's.
I think I know what you're gonna say, but I'm curious.
So okay, well, let's take this and do a subset of it first. Let's say that with Fight, for example, because Fight, we can say monetary value, we know how much it costs to get it, to sell it, the margins, all of that. Owning the proprietary, thank you, blend, and then being like, okay, if someone did give me an offer for that, we've talked about that before. I mean, and a couple of my friends, like, I genuinely with that, it would have to be under the for me, it'd have to be under the understanding that like I would still be able to get it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'd have a supply every year, whatever. So I still have my fights.
I think that could be included as part of the deal.
Yeah. But for that, the number that comes to my mind is like, again, I go back and forth about it, but like, even like with Fight, like I would do that probably for like 500,000. You know what I'm saying? Like that would be like my like minimum.
And would that be like?
And like they buy it. They have.
But you're
Fight,
still
like
on the front.
No. Like they can do whatever they want. Like I'll step away from it for that. Okay. Now, like, yeah, I would say. But again, I don't know why that number has always come up to me and stuff like that. But then again, it's another significant. But I will say that too. That's like, but I was thinking about it with Sonic of like, if we could partner somehow, and they want to partner and like be a part of it, I would do it if it made sense, in a sense of like, they're offering me more money than what I could make selling on my own, right? And then it's getting out to the masses and me also getting a percentage of that, like a royalties as well. So there's multiple ways that I would get that. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
But then they have the majority, and then they're taking care of like the ordering, all of that stuff. You know what I mean? But if they were like, we're not just going to outright buy it from you, stuff like that, then I think that, that would be something that I would be very open to doing, because I would see that it could help so many more people. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it'd be used in a way, if it was used in that specific way of like the water, that how we do our sonic slushes and stuff like that. That's what I would say. Now, the whole umbrella of Dandy Fitness, like for someone
Like
to buy
LYB,
it,
to like buy the brand.
yeah,
LYB.
to like buy it, like the whole thing is they would have to offer me.
It would have to be so astronomical that like.
I mean, not even astronomical. Like, I mean, because if we're
You're like,
talking
hold
about
on, I don't want to kill any.
yeah, I'm not sure if you're
Hold
doing
on
all
a
the show,
second.
whatever. But like, I mean, in getting in numbers and whatever.
I mean, you don't even have to like give a specific number. I'm just curious, like, it's more like the ownership.
It's like it would have to be something to where I could still like go through, like, because I would find a workaround. You know what I'm saying? Of going through and then, well, I mean, because then again, I would just brand Danielle Dyer and I would just go public speak,
do a different one,
and go do, I would open up another outlet. Like, so for me, it's like, you know what I'm saying?
You can
like,
still continue the message and also get the financial benefit of having built a big business. And
right.
Yeah.
Yes. But we're talking like, when I'm talking about like a substantial amount, like millions of dollars. Like, so for me, like to be like, I'm good, like with that. But again, too, at the end of the day, it's like, you know, I've listened to several podcasts and they're over here talking about, you know, because someone
people buy podcasts too.
Right. Well, but here's the deal. They sit here and talk about how only people are body positive, eating cupcakes, or they're fitness and they're like, you hate your body. And like, I listened to this for people I know the other day talk about it on their podcast. And they were like, I just wish that there was like some in between. What are you saying? Like, I'm right here. I'm literally, hi, if you're watching on YouTube, like, hello, like Danny D Fitness. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm literally that gap.
Right.
To bridge. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's not that difficult to understand, you guys.
Yeah.
All of my girls want to look better, but they also know that that's not the priority.
Right.
And they also know that if they want this to be realistic and lasting, that it's got to be a realistic, healthy lifestyle regimen. You know what I mean?
It is, yeah, it's
so
very much what you preach.
So again, I'm just like, no, there are people who are out here. You just choose to not see them. You put these blinders on, or you don't want to show credit to that, and you want to act like this is still a problem.
Or that.
You see what I mean?
Definitely with that.
So it's not a problem. I'm bridging that gap. I'm helping with that, you know, to shape that and to change that. And we are making a difference, you know.
You don't seem to care about the message as much if it's not a messenger that you like, huh?
Yeah.
It's interesting.
And like, so that's what I'm saying.
It's all about helping people until helping people is promoting somebody that you don't.
Well,
feel like
and I think that people like to keep me at arm's length.
Yeah.
Because they know
Well, they probably
that if you put me on
like
GMA or you put me on some whatever, like it is.
Like, don't let her get some rocket fuel in there.
Well, and even like, again, it's
but you again, like we talked about earlier, you do care. You are authentic, and these kind of things, and those things are in business or in life. Those things are threats to people that aren't that way. Like if you're doing things the wrong way, it's like whenever I talk about like documenting businesses, it's like if you're not doing anything, then this is kind of a tough way to do this. But if you are about what you say you're about, then this is.
Yeah,
this
and
works.
here's the thing too. Like, and I'll just put this out there. Like, here's a difference of. There's been people who are body positive and they talk about, you know, whatever, right? And they go on these big forums and they speak on it. And I'm sorry, but like, it just isn't real to me.
I do think that you deliver it differently.
Thank you. And that's where I'm like, that's what's missing.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm like,
well, it's unfortunate to be grouped.
Yes.
Like that too, where like people automatically maybe they dismiss the message or something because it's like,
But see, like, for example, like Alona.
Nuance.
Alona is great.
She's awesome.
And everyone's like, she's awesome, she's great, and whatever, and all this stuff. And the thing is that I still wish that more of them would have talked about this and with Dance with the Stars and whatever, that like she's not a big girl.
Yeah.
She's like larger framed, but has very little body fat on her.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
On her frame.
Yeah.
She's solid and whatever. The problem isn't her.
Right.
The problem is when you view her, you view big equals bad. And
Right.
then that's all you see.
Right.
And
Right.
it's that part
Yeah.
that like, and so it's almost like when she would talk, she was like, I just want, people to accept, or not accept, but she would be like, I don't know. It was
So you think
almost
it's like a weird balance? Because I thought the same thing, and I
Yeah.
think this with other things that you could probably imagine, but like where it almost like there's almost like a fine line between like you're almost like hurting it by constantly bringing it up or constantly like it's like
yes,
she's already putting that out there
right.
by just like being herself and like just doing
Right.
like what she's doing in general. Like it's already incredible what she's doing. Like
Yeah.
when it's like constantly. Does that make sense?
Yes, exactly. Because again, I mean, and I've had that happen to me too, and I know exactly what you're saying. And it's like, it is
And then it's unfortunate
So-
for people like you who really do have like aren't presenting it that way.
right.
Because it's like, oh well, I don't want it shoved out. It's like that's not what she's doing. Just because other people do that
Right.
doesn't mean
But that's the thing is like, at the end of the day,
it's just a weird.
it's a like I said, it's a frustrating dichotomy that we get in this weird loop of things and whatever. And even like I will say this,
It's like you want to bring awareness to it.
yeah. Well, even like China the other day, she was talking to me about something, or when she was in town, and she said, she was like, man, like we were talking about when you're in bodybuilding, you have your in season, you have like your off season. Okay. And your off season doesn't mean you're off. You're still very much on. It's just that you're building muscle during that time. So you're putting on fat knowingly. Okay. And you got to deal with that. Okay. And as a woman, that's challenging, and it's all of that and whatever. But she had said something to me, and I was like, yeah, I mean, like, I'm just, we were doing a lift, and I was like, yeah, I mean, I just got to be good about being in my off season body. But then now more so even from that, being like, I'm working on my hormone health, which is another layer. Cause like what I thought was where I could be like, okay, I can stay here. My body was like, no, you got to surpass it. You got to be about 15 pounds more than that just to even get your cycle back, And that's where my body feels safe. That's where it's like, okay, you can operate. Like we're not in that fight or flight stage right now. Like, okay, we're kind of rocking and rolling, getting nutrients, digestion is on. My thyroid has naturally increased, which that's crazy. Any doctors listening that told me that there's no way my thyroid could increase without medicine, I must be an anomaly.
Yeah.
I'm not. You can increase it by nutrient dense foods, less stress, like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? All
Yeah,
these things. So
yeah.
anyway, that's a whole nother podcast, but all that to say, I just, like with the body, she said, I wish that I could be how your off season is, quote unquote. And like she was basically referring to how much muscle I still show and so I can carry and whatever. And I'm only focusing on my stomach and being like, my stomach, whatever. And she's like, I wish I could have that shape. When I'm in my off season, but her stomach, she's very like leaner through the middle and never has to do abs. Okay. And just looks great right that. But she gets thicker through her arms and her legs and whatever. And I'm like, but do you see that like, that's
always going to be.
It's always yes,
There's always going to
and
be
we all have
something.
those different
Yes,
struggles, and
yes.
and there's always going to be that.
So
But-
what's the answer then? It's to shift that perspective.
and
you're
to
always
shift
gonna
it
have that.
to even to be like, but what is that positive though?
Right.
And so when she
Right.
said that to me, it was such a nice reminder because I can be so critical about myself when you're not in either or now, you know what I mean? It's like not in the bodybuilding, not really in the off season like that, but you're in a whole nother level that's not even talked about. Nobody cares about whatever. And it's one of those things where when you're looking at this whole, loving your body throughout, it's that it literally is that right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. It's just, like I said, it's hard. I'm not saying it's easy, but even when people, I think that like what Alona had done was she was kind of projecting what she knew America was already thinking about her. Hey everyone, thank you so much for subscribing to the Love Your Body podcast on YouTube, Spotify, wherever you're listening. I appreciate you so much for sharing these stories, listening, and just, being a part of the DDF community. If you are interested in any challenges I have coming up, the Get Your Movement In Challenge is launching here soon, so stay tuned for that, as well as online programming. Would love to work with you from all over. And you guys, I'm just so blessed and so thankful for this season season of time, please, if you get a chance to share the mission, rate the podcast, whatever you want to do, comment, let us know what you think about it. We would love the support, and we're always looking for sponsors. So if you're someone that's listening right now and you want to get your business out there as well, we'd love to have you as a sponsor. And so let us know at Dani@DanityFitness.com. It was like she's already like, you know what I mean?
That makes a lot of sense to me, actually. Yeah.
And it's very
like what you expected her to say. Like whenever she comes out and does a great dance, she's like, well, here's what I feel like I should say based on how I'm
perceived, right?
Yeah.
And that's where I feel like we differ, because I know you're already going to say, like, I'm not hoping that you're going to be like, oh, well, she's actually kind of athletic. Like how China, like someone close to me views me.
Right.
That's fantastic. But she's in the industry.
Right.
She knows, like, so she has that intelligence, I guess you could say. I don't expect America to have that yet. So until they can see me and then me explain, like, this
and some
whole
people
mission.
will never get it.
You see what I'm saying? But even explaining the whole mission of it's not just like, you know what I'm saying? That's the part that's missing.
Yeah,
like, I don't know how else I can say it. Like,
I mean, that's what I'm saying, though. Is
it's like take it a step further.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. That whenever
because everybody that watched her literally said, I mean, well, oh, wow, like an Olympian can look like that. That's so great. But if she's on the side of the street and she looks like that, it's an issue still.
Right. No, yeah. I mean, and
then there's no reason it should be.
Yeah, that's where it's a weird fine line, because it's like you want the awareness and you want like the representation. Mm-hmm. But then at the same time, you don't want to be used like token.
Right.
You
but
know
that's
what I
the
mean?
thing
As like a token, like.
But that's the deal, is that she, like I said, we'll go off of her, but I'll put it back on myself. But like, I don't mind. I'm going to be perceived however it is anyway. So like, if I got to be the token, then I got to be the token. But I want it to be with a purpose. Mm-hmm. And the purpose is to bring it back, like finish the statement of, but you can love your body throughout.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And it's not just because you are an Olympian or you're this or that. Like, it's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, it's just in general.
Yeah. No, 100%.
Like, she looks great.
Yeah,
like
she does.
her, and then the other girls that are beside her, again, they're all fit. It was just that they had smaller legs.
Yeah.
Smaller builds.
Right.
All fit.
Right.
Period.
Yeah.
Leave it.
100%. Well, it's like,
but anyway, that's my little spiel on that.
I mean, I think that is it is a big topic in general, just because it's like what you're trying to do is a big thing, and there's just not a lot of nuance. And,
but it's like, let's take the time.
Yeah,
we talk about some stupid stuff all day long. Everybody
and to kind of like rainbow back to what we were originally talking about podcasting. Like, I was thinking about that this morning. Like, that's why podcasting really is a great and unique format. It's very different than anything else, because you do have the time to get into things, and you do have the time to like, and like even like a view of a random short versus a view of somebody who listens to this whole thing and takes a million different things out of it, and like it's not the same thing. Like,
for
it's
sure.
just
and here's the thing too.
It's nutrient dense, like you're saying. This is a nutrient dense form of content.
I want to sit with Kelly Clarkson and literally look at, and I this guy who I was talking to or whatever about doing some speaking engagements, he was like, well, a lot of celebrities don't want to talk about like their weight loss. I said, I don't have to bring up her weight in 1 second. I'm not going to say, oh, look at I'm not America. No, I'm going to look at her and say, hey, how are you feeling?
Right.
And I'm going to be like, how is like your mental state? Like, are you feeling like, you know what I mean? And come from it from that lens.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
And see how that conversation goes. Yeah. But, and then genuinely ask her and be like, when you were heavier or you're lighter or whatever, because you've been all different body sizes, so we can relate on that, because remember her from like Justin Kelly and all that stuff. And it's like, it'd be like, hey, how did you love yourself? Like, has anyone asked her?
Right.
Don't, if you're going on there before me.
Don't
but
you dare
like, you know
steal
what I mean?
that question.
Like, my client Megan, she's been on there. She's saying, but
for real,
on
Kelly Clarkson show. Yeah, that's right.
And so I'm like,
hey, that's not very many degrees of separation.
But do you know what I mean though?
No,
like,
no,
I just
100%.
want to sit there and ask her and be like, what do you love about
Well,
your
that's
body?
why I hate too. It's like we were talking about, like, like the body positivity can be kind of like hijacked, for lack of a better term, where people don't look at it in like the way that you're trying to present it, and in like the healthy way, and it can, whatever. It's kind of like that with podcasts. Like, I've told you about this before, but I had a friend of mine that was like talking about the Hug to a Girl having a podcast.
Yeah.
And he like, like I told him, I was like, yeah, but what you like, there's different ways of doing things.
Yeah.
And like, yes, it is unfortunate that a person like that has
Yeah.
uses a platform like this because it actually is a beautiful platform. Like it
Right.
actually is a place where you can unbox those things. And
Yeah.
so yeah, every time that you have somebody that hijacks it
Yeah.
and uses it for BS, it's really unfortunate because there's so much good that can come from these conversations,
Right.
especially when you start stacking them on top of each other.
Yeah.
I mean, how many conversations have you had at this point? How many
I know,
hours
yeah.
of time have you spent
And-
learning from people? Like a
Right.
super secondary benefit to any kind of business thing. It's like,
Right.
think about the conversations that you've had. What have you taken from that?
Right.
I mean, the conversation with Joe, whether the cameras were on or not,
Yeah.
was that final push to write a book. Like,
Right.
it's a
And
really
that's-
important format, you know?
And that's why I want people. So like, as we're wrapping up and everything, like when we're looking into this past year, you know, besides like sponsoring the pageant was cool. The Noble workout was cool. Getting the trademarks done. All that was great. You know, the Airbnb like has been good. Even just adding more things to the LYB, making my online program a little bit better in terms of, you know, now we're going to have a couple things added in the new year. You know, there's been so many wins, even getting the auto subscription up. Like there's been so many things to reflect on that I'm sure I'm forgetting about, but having the book signing, you know, doing speaking engagements. I'm trying to think what else. Like there's been so
What about your
the
health?
expo, my health.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, if we'll go into that real quick. Like, so thank you to those who messaged me about it and actually seem to care. That's been really nice. Like, you know, I have one contact in my right eye right now. And so, yeah, so, cause I can't wear contacts in the left eye. But I got some new glasses and they're fine, whatever. But the whole deal is that in short, what I have was caused by stress and just wearing myself to the brink. And I did that. And because I was in bodybuilding preps and everything and didn't really have correct guidance and all that. And so I looked at it as it was like May or June. And I was like, I can either go down this path and just be okay with whatever else happens and potentially go on stage blind, you know, in the one eye, or I can start to focus on my health, put weight back on, deal with that, whatever, and then and learn how to eat more nutrient dense, you know, get out of the whole 6 meals a day, hard on my digestive system, you know, all the things, whatever, right? Figure out, you know, I just did a GI map test and everything like that. So that was an experience. But like that's
That was an experience.
for them to look at and see what's going on, you know, and we're finding out things that like nobody would ever, that nobody would ever, well, it's very funny. I would love to have a crew like an E News or someone like follow me around every day. Cause y'all wouldn't believe the little like ish that I go through on a daily basis. It's hilarious. But anyway, but with the,
just in that one group of things too. I think it's just your health. That's just your competing.
Oh yeah.
It
No,
has
no.
nothing to do with business or.
Oh, there's so much. Like it's crazy. Like sometimes I look at a day and I'm like, was this real? Like literally the other day.
Even the Airbnb, you just brought up the Airbnb, and I was thinking about that day that I was like worried for you because of like who was staying in there. And I'm like,
yeah,
that's a
yeah.
whole other thing that she'd do.
Yeah, but and that's the other thing too is the other day, like and this will actually go out this news piece for Channel 5. It'll be like they came to the LYB.
Oh, nice.
That was a huge moment.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And that was John who came on here.
Hell yeah.
So he
Mr. Burton.
Yeah, so he came on
John is
and
awesome. Shout out to John.
yeah, so he interviewed me and we
That's
did
awesome.
that. And so that should be out here in the
See,
new year.
Look, they came to you.
Right.
You didn't even have to go to the news station.
Literally, I know. I loved it because this was the first time. So
But you
Alexandria
have the
Adams.
attraction. You have the attraction that they want to come to.
Well, yeah, and Alexandria Adams, she came on and did a piece, but I was like more of a the health expert on that piece. So it was about like you're not drinking. And for me, this time it was actually about like Dandy Fitness and like what you do and who you are and everything like that. So that was awesome. And I had to do like he filmed me like working out. And that was another moment of, okay, you're not at your leanest. You're not, you know, again, you're trying to work on your health, all these things, whatever. So I had to then, it's another layer of mentally be prepared, you know, and it's so funny because, you know, like I said, I had to be my own strength in those moments to not get down about it or to not think some type of way or just be covered up. And I was like, no, I'm wearing a one shoulder crop. Don't know how it's going to look on the film. I'm not spray tanned, whatever. We're going to have to roll with it. And I got to be okay with it. You know what I'm saying? Because that's where I'm at. I'm not going back. I'm not even living in the future or whatever. I'm like so proud of all the hard work. And that's where like I would always have some resentment with bodybuilding, because when I would be putting on weight knowingly, and like because that was what my coach was doing or whatever, it was almost like people would kind of look at that or whatever, and I would start to get in my head about it and get frustrated, because I'm
They
like,
don't understand the process.
yeah, they understand the process, but it's like it almost was like a like, you know what I'm saying, like you feel like you're like letting yourself go or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And now it's like, now I don't even have like, I think I told you that the gynecologist when I was there, the lady said something like she didn't even say my weight, but she I didn't look at it. She like wrote it down. She was like, must be bulking season, huh?
Wow.
And I was like, this is what I said something like that. But you know what I mean though? Like, and so again, it's just that whole notion of, I'm glad she used that language because, and again, she meant it in like the sweetest way, like whatever. But like,
I get,
but like, but do you see what I'm saying? Like people say these type of things to me all the time.
Yeah, that's wild.
And it's like, you just got to roll with it.
I mean, I've said this to you before. Like, I believe you 100%, obviously. But I've never. I just can't even imagine a scenario where I would say something like that to somebody. It's so wild.
But that's what I'm saying.
Must be bulking season.
Yeah.
Excuse the what?
And again, I could have looked at that and gone super negative and like whatever. It was a funny thing. And I'm like,
that's what I was gonna say. I mean, at some point you almost just have to laugh. Like,
I do.
It's not that it's funny. I always describe it as like the Joker laughing, where like he's laughing not because it's like funny, but it's like what else do you do?
That's been the majority of my life.
Yeah. At some point you have to.
Yeah, you literally turn negative into positive. Like, well, she used better language than most would. She knows I'm an athlete, so like, cool. If that's what you want to believe,
that way, which is good.
But if you want to believe it, like that's what this is, then that's fine too. Because in a certain way it is. But you know what I'm saying? So like, but again, my hormone specialist was like, you have improved in this. She was like, so many things. And the thing is that like with autoimmune, for those who don't know, autoimmune and gut issues are completely related. Okay. So your gut microbiome, if something's off there, that means you probably do have an autoimmune type deal, whatever. All that to say, we're doing that test. We're going to see what it says, right? It could be something as simple as, oh, take this and like, then it's going to repair your gut. And then, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, we don't know. So for me, I'm in that, like the whole growth stage of circling back to everything. That is huge to me, of being like, look, if I can't fully repair my autoimmune system, right? Like if that is completely screwed, right? Then, what I can control is fixing the gut stuff, getting the thyroid up, doing all those things, mm-hmm. right? So it's kind of like, will my eye ever be clear again? Scars heal and they minimize. So maybe it could be a slight shift. It could be a centimeter up, and then maybe it won't be blurred completely, right? I don't know. So instead of being dramatic about it and being like, okay, whatever. And again, it was a fine line of being dramatic about it and not, but like, because it was very upsetting. But it's one of those things of like, if I can live in the idea that I am constantly working on being my best, and that's the focus, then it's going to get better in some perspective. Yeah. You know what I mean? Or at its minimum, it won't get worse. You know what I mean? I could go 50 years without having a flare up again. Right. If I really live like the lifestyle, like, again, I grind, I do things, but it's exciting, and I have a stress reliever.
Way better about that kind of stuff now.
Yeah, but even in a short amount of time, right?
Way better.
And so it's like, if
concerned, it's like whenever I was saying I was concerned before, I don't think I could have been as concerned as like what actually happened, because like I wouldn't have thought that you would have. Like, whenever I was saying that, you're really grinding yourself I wasn't thinking, like, if you don't stop, you might get this autoimmune condition that makes you, like, I wasn't even thinking that far ahead.
And nobody knew. Like, I mean,
and it's like,
no one told
to see,
me.
like, the results of it, though, it just sucks.
Yeah.
I told you my opinion about it recently.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. It's like, again.
But are you closer to finding an answer, do you think?
Well, I mean, the answer.
Than you were, like, this time last year, maybe?
I mean, the answer, there's not.
Like, you're doing the biome test, right?
Yeah. That's for like my gut and stuff like that. But for the actual eye stuff and whatever, that's the whole thing, is that, again, I've spoken. I have another meeting with like Vanderbilt, or we're going to go to Vanderbilt and see. So it's a second opinion. But I genuinely believe that this is how you treat the eye when this happens and whatever, right? The steroid drops and stuff, but they don't know how to stop the flare-ups. The only way that you do that is stress. So I have to manage my things, like taking off, like I took off, 10 days for my Christmas, break and everything like that. And like managing that, not overworking, not dealing with anyone's scheduling, whatever. If you don't get on schedule, then okay. Like you missed your whatever.
Right.
And not looking at it of such, not running myself into the ground. Right. So anyway, all that to say, the eye specialists don't think there's anything that can be done. You see what I'm saying? They're like, there's not anything. You see what I'm saying? So to live in that finality, it's like, well, I don't want to live in that reality.
Right.
Right. So all I can work on is the inside out.
Right.
So working on, like the stress, like I said, eating more nutrient dense foods, getting my sleep. Sleep's a priority now. Having regularity in my cycle, all of that stuff. So it's like, as long as I keep that under control, then who knows what could happen. Right. And like I said, your eyes adjust too. Like even right now, like I can see you, you know what I'm saying? Like your eyes adjust. Like, there's certain things that it's harder to see and whatever, but
you kind of know, like when you wake up in the morning, like if it's going to be.
Oh, so here's the thing. So because of this second flare, I don't now have light sensitivity. In terms of, like I do. I was constantly watering and stuff like that. So that I don't have that anymore. It's not painful. It's numb, you guys. So I don't get like red eye or anything like that. But what it is that it's hard to open my lid. So for those who, which was so nice, I got to share with a lot of people.
Yeah, I saw that.
The upneek is what it's called. And the doctor was like, and then we'll wrap this up, but he basically was like, oh, well, there's some drug. Cause I asked him, I said, what can I do for my eyelid drooping? And he said, oh, well, you could do, he was like, well, they have like eyelid lifts or whatever. And then I was like, and like Botox, I guess. Right.
Okay.
And he was like, yeah, there's actually these drops that you can use. I'm like, oh, well, thank you for telling me this now.
Yeah.
No one mentioned these drops for the past year and a half. Okay.
So
and to be fair, my eyelid like drooping is more recent, but still. So anyway, so he told me, but they're kind of expensive. I said, I didn't ask how much they were.
Yeah, right.
Bruh. And they're not that expensive, you guys. But anyway, but I told people, and I said,
probably isn't a kickback for.
No. And I told them, I said, reach out to your physician before you buy these. But people message me about it. And again, it's just sharing this information. That's why, like, I don't want to gatekeep stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I want people to know. I want people to like understand that this is something that I never saw coming, literally, right? And so it's one of those things where it's like you have to be mindful with everything you do, and be with people you trust. Go to a chiropractor you trust. Go to somebody that, don't just go. Don't just work with a trainer to work with a trainer.
Get a second opinion.
Get a second opinion. Like, and again, we could be wrong and this could be completely something else or whatever. I don't know. But I'm working with the data that we have found and going from there. And even my hormone specialist was like, I'm sorry that I didn't like share with you that and support you more in the fact that like this can be better. This isn't, you know what I'm saying? Like this can,
like there's hope.
Like there's hope. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, that would have been nice to know. You know what I mean? But
powerful
sometimes, sometimes you get so wrapped in it, and I get it, right? Like we get so like in the process, and she's just trying to get all the information to see what it is. Like apparently I have high histamine, which I think that has caused a lot of stuff. I think it's caused my skin issues. That's caused my styes that I had in my eye.
You
like
have reactions easier?
Yeah. Like,
like antihistamine is like what you would normally take for like sinus and stuff like that, right?
Yeah. So now I'm taking this thing that helps with like digestively, like with the histamine levels to come down.
You also live in like the worst place ever for.
Yeah. But that could be that could maybe fix everything.
It is a big,
right? Like we don't know.
As a person who has dealt with bad allergies my entire life, trust it is a big deal.
So it's just like stuff like that, you guys. That again, has this been an expensive journey to figure this out? 100%. But here's the deal. Like, I'm only 31, so I still have a long life ahead of me, hopefully, right? So for me, I would have hated to wait till I'm 60 to try to deal with this stuff and have let it accumulate, which is what most people do, though.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I'm even thinking. Like, it's crazy to think about, like, like, where you were at health-wise, good or bad, but, like, pre this journey.
Yeah.
It's like, damn, because it's been a lot, like you said, a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of effort to try to figure out these things. And it's like, man, was all this going on before, and you just didn't like it just
Well,
hadn't gotten bad enough yet?
Yeah.
Or
So
like,
apparently, like what I have with like the autoimmune stuff, apparently it is actually something that you are. I think she said that you have like in your system, like you're born with it or whatever, like it's
literally
passed
just
on or
triggered.
whatever. Yeah. And then at some point it gets triggered. And so really like we can't say, so that's why you can't blame it on the bodybuilding, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it could have happened once doing strongman, right? And maybe if I would have continued doing strongman, it would have happened. And then I'm like, strongman. But I will say that having the different type of coaching, you know what I'm saying, with the bodybuilding, they try to do too much for people. And that's why, like, I know my girls would love for me to write them out meal plans.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it. I do food accountability coaching. And then now I'm working on this, like working with this app to track them more in real time. And so I'm trying to do better to help them and support them on that level, and actually do like food consults and all that. And that's really rewarding. Like my girl that did a food consult with me literally has dropped X amount of body fat, lost the weight that she wanted to lose, and is like crushing it. You know what I'm saying? After one consult. Like,
Yeah, that's amazing.
she just needed a few guidance and direction, and like
Don't
we were
need
rocking
like
and
the
rolling.
every single meal.
And
of every
we're
single,
we're rocking and rolling. And then, but again, because legally, like I am not allowed to write food plans, meal plans. Like I'm not a dietitian. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So unless a trainer is a registered dietitian, not nutritionist, but dietitian, they're not supposed to either.
Yeah.
Therefore, and then we have a coach that has way too many clients who can't. It's all cookie cutter.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And so again, that's a whole nother story for another time. But all that to say, that is why, like, I don't do that because it can wreck you. There was no reason that I should have been taking 50 supplements a day. Mm-hmm. My immune system was great.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And then it just got suppressed by taking all of that. And then, but again, when you're focused on something, it's hard to see around you. That's why you have to have people. That's why you have to have people to pull you out, or have people who are there to support and be like, or even to like question a little bit. But anyway, but I'm so proud of all my clients. I'm proud of, my challengers. I've had some successful challenges, some great move fits, we did like the one hotel, which was great. The expo was epic. Love doing that there. I met some awesome people there. I got to go to Indiana to see my best friend, which was awesome, and take that time. I'm trying to think, she came here as well. I've seen some shows. I went to the symphony,
Another thing I think you've been conscious about wanting to get better at, that you've gotten much better at, is doing those kind of things.
Yeah. Played with Louie across the street, took him on some walks and stuff. We're going to have a slumber party soon. It's going to be great.
And then eventually, mark my freaking words, we're going to get a dog in this woman's life. Watch. It's going to happen.
Dude, right here beside me. So come out and be like,
earlier I was thinking, watch, one of these days we're going to introduce the podcast. I meant to say that earlier to a little pug. But I was going to ask you, so we're kind of wrapping up this episode, we're wrapping up the year, etc. So I'll ask you what you always ask everyone else. What is something that you love about your body today, specifically, right now, specifically?
Today, well, I hit legs earlier, which was great, and then got my Stretch Labs, and then got my chiropractor appointment. So
you're feeling
real good.
Yeah.
Feeling real good. Which was so nice. I love stacking that like that. It was like a perfect morning, like a perfect day. And that's what's so funny. That's like a perfect day for me, which is so funny. But
hey, there's worse things you could be doing.
And I will say something too. The other day I had this realization real quick that like all the time I've been saying, man, I want to be paid to work out. I want to be paid to work out, the whole Noble thing or whatever. And then I was like, you really are paid to work out. Like if I really think about it, you know what I'm saying? I really do get paid to work.
For sure.
So I was kind of like, I looked at that and was like, you're living that. So let that go a little bit. Like, you know what I mean? And when you're thinking about
people that are paid to work out, right? That are paid to do athletic things. Professional athletes.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So it's just, but
so
it's
technically,
so it's cool. Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
But I was just like
cool.
thinking about that.
Cool.
But anyway, all that to say, so what I love about my body today.
Come on,
I know.
It's the question.
I know. It's the question. But like, I love so much. So I'm trying to think, cause like I really did have so many moments
Touche.
throughout my day. That was great. But I will say probably today would be like my shoulders. Just because when I was looking back at doing that interview, with John and whatever, I wore one of my favorite like crops and like, whatever. And like my one shoulder was out and I was like, like kind of go back to what China had said. It's like, even when I'm at my heaviest, or whatever, that I still, to me, look athletic and still can see muscle and still see strength and all of that. And that's really cool to me because I feel like a boss, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, I'm going to say my shoulders, but also say my booty too, because it's like been popping here lately. So that's been good. But yeah, so lots of positives.
Last thing for me is I would just say is that I think about that. Well, that's a really cool thing that you do. Asking people is obviously a really, really cool thing especially because most people have never been asked it. But what it reminds me of is like whenever I'm like doing things the right way, I'm writing down gratitude every day. And like whenever I've talked to people about that, the number one important thing about writing down gratitude is just because it teaches you to look for things to be grateful for.
Yeah.
So like whenever you bring up like even doing it specifically, like what is it today? And you're like, oh, my shoulders in this one pic. Like it's very specific.
Yeah.
But like that's what it should be, because then it teaches you to continue to look for because those little things matter, and like your shoulders popping, that's enough. Like you can be grateful for that. It doesn't have to be like
that's all.
It teaches you to continue to look for things like that, which I think is awesome because it kind of rewires your brain towards gratitude.
And that's exactly what we're trying to do, is rewire your brain from all of the societal and the beauty standards and pressures. So
and it's a great practical exercise to do that. Is my point. Like
and I will say
big or
that,
small.
And I will say that, I'm just really, like I said, I'm proud of everything I got going on. And all the things that 2025 is going to be a big year. And I know people probably always say that, whatever, but, I just have a lot of things in motion, and so I'm excited for that. But it's also like I am finding more solace in my devotional and my relationship with God, of focusing on that even if none of those things happen, everything is still great.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And not being so hard on myself, because literally my mind, the way it works is like, even earlier when we were talking about sponsorships, I'm like, well, why haven't you gone to this? Why haven't you done this? Like in my head, right? There's like 50 things that I'm like, okay. And then literally has to circle back to being like one thing at a time. Mm-hmm. So if I could give anyone any piece of advice, if you've been staying in this long in the podcast and listening, which I know some of you are.
You're the best.
Yeah. That when it comes to everything, you have so much to do. Right? You're overwhelmed. You're a mom. You're this. You're a dad. You're raising kids. You're raising your animals. Whatever it is that you have going on, focus on one thing at a time. Okay. Like right now, if I could have done this whole podcast walking on the treadmill, so I got my steps in, I would have done it. Okay. And that's the thing is like, but looking now of being like, you know what? Actually, it's okay to take time for rest and take time to just do this and enjoy. Right. And know that I can go get a walk here in a little bit. Like, space it out, take your time with things. You're going to get it done. Just chip away at it. And you don't have to go balls to the wall when it comes January 1st. And even if you're doing the challenge, like those are strategic goals set up. You can do one goal, you can do two, you can do three. It's on you, right? So it's like, again, having a structure, having accountability, having support, that is what's going to help you be successful and be consistent, right? And yeah, so I'm just so excited. And like I said, I'm so grateful for all of you. I'm so proud of everything that we're building here. And thank you for, like I said, anyone who follows, subscribes, leaves a 5-star review, has shared this podcast, has shared, my mission with people, who has referred people to come train with me, whatever it might be. You are continually, I said this at my Christmas party, but like you're continually helping me fulfill my dreams of helping people love themselves throughout in a world that's going to tell you to not. So thank you so much.
We'll see you next year.
Until next time.